It has been a long-standing feud between farmers and herders. I am talking about the farmer-herder conflict that has cost properties and lives. It is happening in the Ashanti region, up north, and even across the West African sub-region. In today's episode here on the food chain, we'll be interacting with the various stakeholders in this particular conflict to find out possible solutions to end this menace. Join me, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku, on today's episode. Stay with us.
Asante Achimagogo, Setre Afram Plains, and its adjoining districts have over the years been the grounds for long-standing feud between farmers and herders. Instigated by inadequate access to resources like land, water and pasture for livestock, the conflict has claimed innocent human lives and destroyed properties including cattle and farms. The clashes threatened education in the area with the abrupt shutdown of local community schools. Konti Hine of Agogo, Nana Kwame Intim says the herders' behavior had far-reaching consequences, insisting their abhorrence to transhumans.
I said, I go home corner and send in tree, you can be you. The batun and tree, open it was him. Boko, then and show my dear Conne beef. Oh, my God, so be a bibiada. To one buy and the boy almost obeyed Piara and more. Flanini, a proud good new catch a protein or Flanini, the infant Gokuno. I would go prepare in India or Magotiaguni. Here, my friend for. A team on their was as a super. I would create any market second. If any could see a penny, say I can see a car, or be any cromocove, and swat the amount for air tribute from a diomentus. Now by your toes, you know, the name tree, Abba, saying, I am funny.
Municipal Chief Executive for Asante Achim North, Francis Otibuating, agrees.
This farm, they don't have land. They buy only 1 acre. And they take care of about 5,000, 10,000 cattle. We cannot tolerate that. And it's unacceptable. Because once you decide to rear animals, you should make sure you buy feed for them. That's all. The reason why we said we can't entertain them in Asante North. Secondly, they also, because of this, the practice that they are doing, which is not even legal, I think we should get a law that will prohibit free range of animal rearing in Ghana. And because they have also been crashing with the farmers, there has been a lot of long-standing tension between the farmers and the herders. So, with a little provocation, it results to conflict.
The conflicts are not only peculiar in these communities in Ghana, they are old-age feuds spanning the entire West African sub-region. National President of Cattle Farmers, Imam Hanafi Sunde, admits challenges in the industry.
We know the causes of the conflict. We know them. We as well know the implications. We have also gone beyond that to, look into how it could be solved. I mean, to bring out solutions. The only issue has to do with our own way of, our own practices, of the cattle's, farming system is the issue within the sub-Saharan Africa. If you travel to advanced countries or developed countries, that's where you see thousands of animals are confined and are, intensively breed. You understand what I'm saying? They are fed in, they develop pastures to feed them. Most of the times people ask, Chairman, what is happening with you people? Don't you see what is happening in America? Don't you see what is happening in Canada, in Europe, in this and that? Why can't you replicate? Why can't you do the same here? 100 animals that are into milking. 100 animals. It means you are getting 50 liters. So where are you getting the money to be able to feed these animals? You cannot. Definitely, you have no option than going to the open grazing system. You have no option because you can't feed these animals. We graze our animals. I mean, we do animal farming for life sustainers, to sustain life. We do crop farming to sustain life. So if in this process to sustain life, we are killing the same life we have to sustain, it doesn't make sense. So it simply means that we are like trying to go forward, meanwhile, we are going back. If you look at the benefit derived from the livestock industry, you cannot count from the owners to the butchers, their families, to the traders, to the catchers, to the veterinary service. The income generation is very big. But where someone is dying, you will not see any benefit there.
These clashes have been primarily fueled by the changing climates, which has since forced many nomadic herdsmen to travel down south following severe desertification up north. Natural resources like water and fodder for the animals are heavily depleting as many of these herders continue to keep a large number of flocks. Their inaccessibility to fertile land down south has been the bone of contention between the factions. Vincent Kusiche is with the Department of Forest and Silviculture Management, KNUST.
Indigenous, their access or land right use is vested into the allotted title of the land. Because they are indigenous of the place, by law or through inheritance, they have land that they can use, which they don't rent or they don't buy from anybody. But if you're a settler, they use the authority at the same time, but they go and see the landowners and then ask permission to get access to the land, and then they are allocated land. When it comes to the pastoralists, the settled pastoralists also get land allocated to them by the traditional authorities or the paramountcy. But the transhumans also get land to graze their cattle, whereby they are issued what the term or we revealed that was reviewed as grazing permit. Now, how does these things create the conflict? So you realize that if a farmer is given a land with a boundary showing a jurisdiction where his farm is located, he knows the boundaries of his farm from another. But when you look at the permit that is given to the grazers or the cattle owners, it tells them that they can graze the cattle on the stool land. But the question I ask is where and which locality? So this creates the conflict. So it's possible you go to the ground and you see one farm, another cattle or a group of cattle also grazing. And in conclusion, my research says that there is a multiple and overlapping access mechanism within the area. And for that matter, it creates the conflict.
The conflict is threatening food security as studies found out the cattle value chain has been heavily impacted. Abdul Wahab Rauf is with the University of Development Studies.
Because the herders find it difficult getting feeds for their cattle, you realize the cattle will not get much meat. So the butchers will not get to buy a good cattle. In literally, they will not get to buy a good cattle. As in, the cattle is somehow small. So once it's small, it affects the nutritional content of the butcher.
So what would be your recommendation?
I think recommendation, as far as my study area is concerned, is to ban herding cattle in the night. Yes, it's to ban herding cattle in the night. It's one of my biggest recommendations as far as this cattle value chain is concerned.
It's deepened poverty as many farmers struggle to make ends meet. Professor Chue Boateng is the coordinator of the Access Authority Nexus in Farmer Header Project, which conducted a 5-year investigation into the issue.
Unregulated access to land is happening over there, and therefore the landowner himself is not fully aware of who is there and who is where. Okay, so that is a major source of the conflict. We also investigated its effects on livelihoods, and we found out that all the actors, the various segments of people in the area are experiencing increased poverty because of the conflict, with the exception of the herders who migrate from elsewhere to that area. And their poverty didn't get worse because the area where they used to come from, or where they normally migrate, is severer in terms of climatic effect, and so they lose a lot of animals if they don't migrate. And when they come here, despite the conflict, despite the fact that some animals are killed, at least they're able to save some animals, and that is the difference.
To bounce back from their losses, studies have found out that many farmers in Agogo and Setua farm plains are switching to charcoal production, which is heavily depleting the once virgin forest and fertile lands in the area. Mike Sifabwachi is with the KNUST.
Their income levels were reduced drastically from the time they were displaced to the current moment. But also the interesting thing about the resilience is most of the farmers have switched to charcoal production as an alternative way to make a living. And others have also developed other farming and herding practices like planting early in the raining season and harvesting before the dry season occurs. The herdsmen, most of them were burning pasture land so that they can have the regrowth of grasses to be able to contain their cattle within those areas, as well as other eccentric behaviors which are negative, but they perceived it as a resilient strategy. I'm talking of the socio-psychological effects of it. Some of the herders thought that the use of drugs were building their confidence and they were able to move into markets to buy things, but it also have negative implications of their health. From the farmers, about 90% of the farmers I interviewed were either doing charcoal as an additional livelihood to their farming, or they switched totally to farming. Others have moved in trading, but also charcoal production. So we noticed that charcoal is driving deforestation in the area, as well as the burning of pasture lands by herders. They were driving deforestation in the area. So this is a huge challenge. We also have to look at it from the environmental perspective as well. Normally, the majority of them were plantain farmers. We have plantain, we have maize, so they were crop farmers. And most of them had to switch because they have lost access to their lands and they can no more farm. But with charcoal production, cattle cannot be destructive to charcoal. So most of them had to switch to charcoal production to make a living.
The government in 2018 introduced the Operation Cowleg in the community to drive out herders in the area. It also established the Ghana cattle ranching system to confine the animals to an intensive farming practice. Although tensions have calmed within the last year, both local and traditional authorities have vowed not to allow invasion of the herders. But there are possible solutions to be adopted to ensure harmony between the herdsmen and farmers following the series of research and recommendations made.
One thing that you can do is, because of the number of cattle one herder can keep, if it is possible, we can reduce the number, acquire a piece of land, and then can house the animals in this particular land where they can also graze their own pastures to feed them. Or there is a possibility of also getting feedstock from other areas and then bringing them to feed them. And when we do this, we can find solution to the conflict that we are engaging in.
In every conflict situation, probably the most important step, first step, is to get people to talk, to discuss, and let each one see the other's opinion, and then through that, reach a consensus, find common grounds as to what can be done. Okay, so probably we are still where we are because we haven't had that process well managed. In fact, until we started the project, so far as we know, there was no dialogue at all. And it was the project that initiated this. And from what people said at the workshop, and also in the documentary that we showed, you see that even already they are beginning to see some differences in terms of people's behavior, in terms of attitude and utterances. So I will suggest that going forward, the dialogue is something that we should take very serious. Okay, and also now there are no regulations, and therefore people do what they think is good to them. But through the project, we are supporting the assemblies to get bylaws, and the bylaws will stipulate clearly what each party responsibilities are, and that we believe will also reduce the conflict.
Stakeholders are suggesting the enactment of stringent laws to make provisions for the gradual adoption of an intensive cattle farming system.
or kuta biano on fa obu ani die emano oba obi a hutwa ngode ode be hye ha ono aso bete se odu hote ha we to huri so fa de to de nemu abebedu ha pani wo kan sisi apa nso a ode dwem tie besre se ama government policy enye adwuma wo mayi mu aba policy enye adwuma to obi a ye ne ya de ope sanka emran enye adwuma dia anka ne kan nyina se emran enye adwuma emra be hye bia enye kwa.
President of the Cattle Breeders, Imam Sunday, wants all profit solutions, including sensitization and policies, implemented.
We have 3 good solutions. The first one has to do with the education, awareness creation, sensitization, general public sensitization. For you and I to understand that I have no any other option than what I have for now, though we may gradually adopt as we are planning with the ministry now. But for now, this is the system we have. Now, I will do as much as possible to prevent the animals. But as long as we have a common grazing ground and the same place is where we are farming, 1 or 2 times the animals will stray into the farms. But the issue is what happens when it comes that way. That is where we need to have the bylaws, which you see being mentioned here. We need to set up a kind of committee at the district level. So the number of animals are identified. They are in various communities. You know, the number of animals there, their owners, their common grazing grounds, and whatever. You also know the farmers, the number of farmers, their grazing grounds. And should in case there is a problem, how do we solve it? We need to have this committee established, comprising the landowners, the chiefs, comprising the reps of the district assembly, comprising the rep of the cattle farmers, the rep of the crop farmers, the assemblymen, the security agencies. All these people come in, and you know the committee is being formed. So when something happened, since we know that Mr. A, B, C, D are located here, and their common grazing ground is here, and those people who are also farming within that common grazing ground are here. So if you come and just tell me that your farm has been destroyed, the only thing is I click the name of your area and I know who and who grazes that area. We bring these people on board, give them maybe 1 week, go and consult and get us who farms, whose animal destroyed the farm. If we are able to get the person and the person, accept responsibility, what do? We get the officer, what do you call the agric officer, to go and do the evaluation and whatever, bring the cost for the person to pay. You understand? If this one say yes, this one say no, I'm not agreeing, the farmer will not forgo. Because most of the farmers will say, if in the morning I'll visit my farm has been destroyed. I'll go to Alaji A, he will say it's not my cattle. I go to Alaji B, he said it's not my cattle. Meanwhile, my farm has been destroyed. What do? I cannot forgo. So what will come into his mind is that let me just look for some local gun. Go and lie down there. If I see any animal, I shoot to be able to know who animals are. Though it's not lawful, but it's logical. It's not lawful to shoot the animal, but it's somehow logical because you want to know whose animals are the animals. So that is why sometimes they say these are the reasons why they can shoot or they can do whatever to know. So if the farmer comes to know that whether they are able to identify the one who destroyed or not, they will be compensated. So if none of the people there accept responsibility, what is done is that every farmer there will contribute for the compensation of that farmer. The second solution is that the government, all stakeholders, especially the landowners, the district assemblies, need to establish what we call grazing reserves. We need grazing reserves. So in each region or district, there should be a designated areas for livestock. So this area is area being demarcated for livestock farmers. So crop people don't venture there. These are areas for crop. The farmers, animal farmers, should not also venture there. So there is a demarcation, clear demarcation. If you enter into here, you have a problem. You also so we have grazing reserves, we have corridors. The corridor will lead you to the grazing reserve. If you are relocating from relocation A to B, the district assembly, the committee setup will be aware, give you a permission, and then the other people will receive you, give you all documentation. They know where you are moving, they know where you are going. So they monitor the movement of the animals. Now, after that one too, as time goes on, the land will continue to be degrading. And as well as developmental, project will be coming and they will be chopping the land gradually. So what do? Somebody will say, oh, me, I want to build my house, and that man is, you are saying, they are raising reserves. My own land, I want to go and build the house. I want to do this. So now, the final one, which is the final solution and the holistic, is the gradual adoption of the intensive system. So how is that also done? That is what we just proposed to the Minister of Food and Agriculture, that we should establish centers, 3 good centers, one located in the northern sector, the northern belt, middle belt, and the southern belt. We set up a demonstration capacity building center where we bring experts outside to support the Ministry of Food and Agriculture here to, to do what we all come and practice artificial insemination. We get the semen from the big animals there, because there you get animals giving you 20 liters per day, 30 liters per day, 15 liters per day, one animal. So if there is a crossbreed, if we didn't get at all, one animal will get 10 liters per day. Simply means if I get 10 animals, I'm having 100 liters per day. If I have 50, I'm getting 500 liters. Why should I go for plenty animals when I can get 500 liters per day with 50 animals, and from it, 30% can feed the animals. The 70% is for me. I don't have to suffer. So this is actually the gradual way of solving this problem. So I think the problem can be solved especially when the entire stakeholder, for example, what came out of this research, what the Ghana Cattle Ranching Committee has done, what other researchers has done, what is coming from our outfit, what is coming from other ECOWAS, this can all be bring together. We bring all together. And now we bring them as one comprehensive document. And then now we deliberate over it and then, emerge it. Now we implement it at the national level, and then it is passed as a law, and then we adopt it.
With these profit solutions, the various stakeholders are hoping that the government of Ghana and even those across the West African sub-region would adopt them to end this menace. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion here on the food chain. Join us same time next week for another exciting episode. My name is Emmanuel Bright Creepy.